All right, guys, time for science. So we've been learning about living things, and we've already learned about the characteristics of mammals and birds and reptiles. We're going to learn about a new kind of animal today. We're going to learn about fish. So I chose a video about fish because I thought that you guys maybe needed a little bit more information before we move on to our activity. All right, so let's get started.
Squeaks and I are adopting a pet goldfish. He lives in a fish tank and he's a great swimmer. In fact, this little guy's whole body is really suited to life in the water. He has great fins to help him swim and eyes that can stay open in the water. These special body parts help him to live in his underwater home, so we call them adaptations. There's one adaptation that's really important for our new fish friend to survive in a fish tank or a pond. He needs to be able to breathe underwater. People can't breathe underwater because there's no air. We have to hold our breath or use special equipment like scuba gear to get air. But our goldfish isn't holding his breath, and he didn't bring scuba gear. Instead of breathing air, he actually breathes water. Humans, fish, and all kinds of other animals have to breathe for the same reason. We all need something called oxygen. Even though air might not seem like it's made of anything, it's actually made up of lots of tiny little things called molecules that are way too small for us to see. Oxygen is one of the ingredients in air and is really important because it helps your body make energy. You need oxygen to break down your food, move your muscles, and even just to think with your brain. There's oxygen in the air, but you need it to get into and all around your whole body. So you have special organs called lungs to help you get that oxygen. When you breathe in, you can feel your lungs expand full of air, just like a balloon. Once they're full of air, your lungs pull the oxygen that you need out of the air before you breathe out. That oxygen goes into your blood and travels all throughout your body. There's air all around us, so as long as we can breathe, we can get oxygen. Land animals have all different shapes and sizes of lungs, but animals that live underwater, like fish, need oxygen too. Fish don't have lungs, and there isn't any air around them. Animals like our goldfish need to use another way to get their oxygen. And guess what? Water is full of oxygen, just like the air is. So fish can get their oxygen straight from the water they live in. They just need an adaptation to get the oxygen out of the water. Instead of lungs, most underwater creatures have another special body part that allows them to pull oxygen straight out of the water, called their gills. Gills look like little slits on either side of a fish's face. A fish's gills work a lot like our lungs. When a fish pulls in water through its mouth, the water goes back out through its gills. As the water runs through the gills, it goes right past the fish's blood. The oxygen in the water flows into the fish's blood, and now the fish can use the oxygen all over its body. The fish is basically breathing water with gills instead of air with lungs. Other types of animals besides fish use gills too. Crabs, lobsters, snails, and even some bugs use gills to breathe. So even though we both have very different ways of getting it, our goldfish needs oxygen just like we do. Isn't that right, little fish? What do you think we should name our new...
All right, so now that we've learned a little bit about fish, let's take a look at our assignment. Fish are another group of animals that have special physical characteristics. Fish are really special because they live their entire lives in water and can breathe in the water through gills. They also have scales. Our video didn't actually talk about scales. Fins, it talked about fins, and a tail. So those are some of the characteristics of fish. They have gills, they breathe in the water, and they spend their whole entire life in the water. They can't survive out of the water. They have scales, fins, and a tail. Now here's your assignment. It says, draw a picture of your favorite fish. Write one sentence telling why it is your favorite. Now, you might have a favorite pet fish that you want to write about, and maybe you know what kind of fish it is. Maybe it's a betta fish or a goldfish, or I don't know, I'm not a fish expert, but there's all sorts of other kinds of pet fish, and maybe you know what kind it is. Maybe you don't have a fish, but you know that you really like clownfish because you've seen the movie Nemo, right? And Nemo is a clownfish. Maybe you know that sharks are a kind of fish and you really like sharks. Maybe you know about lionfish and how crazy they look, or anglerfish and how they have like super sharp teeth and a light that's hanging from their head. There's lots of different interesting kinds of fish. A blobfish is really interesting too. If you are not a fish expert yet and you don't know about a lot of different kinds of fish, just know that goldfish is a kind of fish you're probably familiar with, and sharks are also another kind of fish that you're probably familiar with. So what you're going to do is draw a picture of your favorite fish and write one sentence telling why it's your favorite. I went ahead and did that. So you're going to get your plain piece of paper, or if you have lined paper, you can use that too. And I drew a picture of my favorite fish. I'm not actually sure if sharks are my favorite, but today they are. So I drew a picture of a shark, and notice that I included some of the details that I know that fish need. I put the gills, I put fins and a tail, and then I wrote one sentence about why I like sharks. I like sharks because they have sharp teeth. Now, I wrote this with all book spelling because I know how to spell all of these words, but you know what, guys? You do not need to have perfect book spelling. You know the words I like. You can sound out the word fish if you're writing the word fish, like clownfish or whatever you're gonna write. F-I-sh. Oh, you know this sound. Actually, fish might even be one of your cycle 19 words this week. I think it is. So f-ish. I know the word shark has sh at the beginning. Just write the sounds you know, guys, okay? Make sure you put nice spaces between your words, and good writers reread their sentence as they go to make sure that it makes sense and you're not forgetting any important words. And then, of course, you need that period. Sorry, my video cut off, but what I was saying is you need a period at the end. Okay. What you're going to do now is get your piece of paper, and you are going to write about your favorite fish and write a sentence explaining why that is your favorite fish. After you are done with that, you need to put it aside so that your family can take a picture and submit it to your teacher. So go ahead and pause the video and you may get to work. All right, that's it for today, everybody. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you again tomorrow for some more Learning with Little Tweet. Good job.